Let's talk about restarting your goals because we all do it. We all stop on our goals at some point. Sometimes it's intentional. We plan a vacation, it's the weekend, and I just don't want to work on some goals over the weekend. And a lot of times it's unintentional. Something happens, a kiddo gets sick, your spouse is out of town, something throws a wrench in your momentum and you stop working on your goals. Now, whether it's you stop working on some of your goals or all of your goals, it doesn't really matter. The same things are going to apply when it comes to restarting your goals. And this year in particular for me, the last 6 months have been a little bit of a roller coaster. There have been a lot of life things, some expected, some unexpected, and a lot of them have had impacts on my goals and whether I was going to work on them or not. And so I personally have had to figure out what works for me in terms of restarting my goals over the last couple of months. And one of the things that I have discovered is that one size does not fit all. And I knew this, this always happens. I know these things are true. I tell you these things are true, but I still experience them firsthand and realize how important they are. Restarting your goals is not a one size fits all. I'm not going to sit here and give you the one magic formula, the one magic pill that is going to help you restart one particular goal. What you need is going to depend on your life, your goals, your situations, etc. But I know how it feels. I know that once you have stopped a goal, it's really hard to start again. So this video is going to give you some ideas, some suggestions, things to think about when it is time to restart one or all of your goals. The first thing I want you to ask yourself though, before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of how to restart is, do you even want to? When this goal was stopped, when you stopped working on this goal, were you consistently working on it before? Sometimes we tell ourselves oh, I stopped working on that goal, and really it was was I ever actually working on it in the first place? But get honest with yourself. Is this a goal that you actually want to be working on right now, right? Maybe you stopped working on this goal for a good reason. Maybe deep down you knew that this was not the right time for that goal or not the right goal for you and your life and your dreams. So get honest with yourself. Is this a goal that I actually want to be restarting? Or am I just restarting it because I feel like I should? Or because I've done it before and so I have to do it again? None of that is true. There are no rules in goal setting. I say that all the time. We are here to talk about the options, the suggestions, the things that I know to be true, even if I'm not always great at applying them myself, but things that I know that can help you in your life and your goals, but it doesn't mean that you have to do them. There are no rules. There are no set in stone things that you need to do, goals that you have to achieve in life. And so if there is a goal that you stopped and you don't actually want to start it up again, that's okay. And maybe it's just temporarily, right? Maybe there is a goal that you were working on that you stopped for whatever reason, that you're I do want to do that goal someday, but not right now. That's okay too. You don't have to be working on all of your goals all of the time. Okay, now let's get into the 5 actual tips, suggestions in terms of restarting a goal. Number 1 is to start on a day that makes sense for you. Now, some people are gonna be unhappy when I say this next thing. I wanna be the kind of person that tells you to start on a Wednesday, to start at 4 p.m., to start in the middle of the month. I'm not that person. I know myself. I know that I love the fresh start of a Monday. I need a Monday to start. And in past versions of me, I also needed the first of a month. I also needed a new quarter. Maybe even I would wait till the new year. I have gotten a lot better at knowing that that's not the case anymore. And so one particular goal that I have been struggling with this year, because my routines and my rhythms between us being out of town or my husband being out of town have been thrown off a lot this year, is getting in a workout. And I was really tempted to start this new workout plan. And I almost clicked start on it on a Thursday. And I finally realized I am not, it was one of the Peloton workout programs, and they restart, it's a 4-week program, and it restarts, it would refresh the new week every Thursday. And I was that is silly. There's no way that I'm gonna continue this if that's how this is gonna work. I'm a Monday start person. I need to wait for Monday. The next Monday after this conversation I had in my head was Monday, May 26th. And I was I could do that. I don't need to wait for June. I don't need to wait for a new month. I'm going to start this workout program on Monday, May 26th. Now, conveniently, it also lined up with my cycle. And so I told myself that at least it wasn't the new calendar month, but it was the new Laken month. And so it worked out that I started on that day. You have to figure out what works for you. Maybe you work a different schedule, and so your new week starts on Fridays, and so you want to start your new goal on a Friday. Maybe you do want to wait for the new month so that you can do a 30-day challenge. You can do something every day for 30 days. By the way, it's really hard to do something every single day, so if you miss a day, it's okay. I need to throw that in there after that came out of my mouth. But what I'm trying to get at here is find the balance between I'm gonna wait at this point, okay, it's June. Don't wait until January of next year, right? But be reasonable and realistic with yourself. And if you need to wait for a Monday or to wait for something else, maybe your kid's getting out of school or something is changing at your job, that's okay. Pick the best day for you to restart that goal. Number 2 is to check back in with the breakdown of this goal, right? Before we even start our goals, we need to break them down. And so if that's something that you never did, step 1 is break down this goal. If you have already broken down this goal, I want you to revisit that breakdown. Take a look at those action steps. Are they aligned with what you're actually working towards? I have been very guilty of this in the past, where I pick a goal and I get clear, I define that goal. That's always step 1, is to define your goals and get really clear on it. And then I break it down based on what I think that breakdown should be, never really comparing it back to my definition of the goal. There are a lot of us who have similar goals. That doesn't mean that we're gonna have the exact same breakdowns. We're gonna have different action steps that align with our definition of that goal and our individual lives. So take a look at that breakdown again. Do those action steps line up with where you want to be? Do those action steps line up with your life right now? Like, is that feasible for you to actually fit in? Do those action steps make sense for what you are trying to achieve? And make sure that you're not just picking action steps because they sound good or because somebody else picked them. Make sure they line up with the goal that you actually want to restart, because otherwise you're gonna have a really hard time restarting this goal if those action steps don't align. There are 1,000,001 ways to achieve goals. I truly believe that. There are so many different paths. There are so many action steps that you can take. There is not one clear cut, like, this is how you achieve that individual goal. If that were the case, I think we would all be a lot more successful with our goals because we would have these beautiful blueprints of exactly what steps to follow. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. So what you need to do is break it down into a way that makes sense for you, and know that it's okay if your action steps are different than somebody else's. Have the action steps that are right for your goal, your life, and your dreams. Okay, number 3 is to make it even smaller. And I know you're rolling your eyes at me. You're like, and I know, make it small, start small. I know you've heard me say it before. But here's the problem. When it comes to restarting our goals, it's something that you were doing before. You have a tendency, myself included, we have a tendency to pick the action step at where we were, not where we started. So let me give you an example. Let's say you had a goal to read this year and you started January off really strong. You were reading like 30 minutes a night before bed. You were cruising through books. It was going really well. And it worked until the weather started to get warmer, the time change hit, right? And then all of a sudden you're playing outside with the kids and it's light. And so everybody's going to bed a little bit later. And so by the time you get into bed, you are exhausted and you just haven't been reading at all. So you haven't been working on this goal since the time change. And you're watching this video and you're like, this is the goal for me. I'm ready to restart my reading before bed goal. And you were like, well, I was reading consistently 30 minutes a night before bed, so I'm gonna start there. 30 minutes is a lot. That's a big chunk of time. Instead, what if you focused on just 5 minutes before bed? Then when you get in bed, even on those days that you're super exhausted because now we're into summer, 5 minutes, you're like, I can do 5 minutes. And so you do 5 minutes. And you consistently do 5 minutes most nights in the month of June. And then in July, you're like, okay, now I can do 10 minutes. And you pick it up. And maybe you eventually work your way back to 30, or maybe not. Maybe you realize that in this time, this season where it's light until, like 8:30 p.m. nowadays here, you're only gonna fit in 15 minutes before bed. Maybe once winter rolls around, you'll jump back up to 30. But when you start with 30, restarting feels really hard because that is a big number. Another good example that a lot of us can understand is when you're driving a car. Now, I use this example as somebody who lives in a city without a car, but I've driven a car. When you are cruising, right? Let's say you're cruising at 60 miles an hour on the highway, you got that cruise control on. And then all of a sudden, you slam on the brakes and you go to 0. Right? There's dead stop, there's traffic, there's an accident, lanes are merging, whatever it is causing you to go back to 0. You can't just immediately flip a switch and the car goes back to 60, right? You have to inch your way back up to 60. Same thing goes with your goals. Number 4 is to create some sort of accountability. Now, I've done a number of videos on accountability. There's a lot of different ways: internal accountability, external accountability, and those videos are great from like accountability at a high level, like bird's eye view. What I want you to focus on is this specific goal that you are restarting. How can you create some sort of specific accountability to just starting, right? I'm not trying to cross the finish line right now. When I want to focus on restarting my goals, I just need to start. And so maybe it's buying a new book, so I'm excited to get in bed and read. Maybe it's clicking play on that new like doing this Peloton program that I've wanted to do and telling myself that's what I'm going to do Monday morning, because I did it. It worked. When I was like, that is my accountability. Maybe it's telling somebody else, hey, I am going to do this. Can you ask me? And make sure that I did this. But create some amount of accountability. I'm not above bribery, something for just that first step, because that's the hardest one. The hardest step is that first one and getting started and kicking off that momentum. Once you get going, it gets easier. And my guess is if you're here watching this video, you felt that. Think back to that moment where you had a momentum streak going and you were feeling that momentum, like, this is when I do this and this is how I do, like, it feels so good. But getting there is tough because that first step is really hard. So create some sort of specific accountability to get you started on that first individual step. And number 5 is to pick a timeline that you're going to reevaluate your goals. What I mean by that is you're not committing to this for forever, right? When you are restarting a goal, you are not saying, well, I'm going to restart reading before bed until the end of time. Pick a timeline. I'm going to read before bed for a week, and then I'm going to check in and see how it's going. I'm going to get up and work out and do this Peloton program for 4 weeks, and then I'm gonna check in and see how it's going. Pick a timeline that you are going to reevaluate your goals. This is a tip that is accurate and helpful all the time as it pertains to goals. We are very good, myself included, at picking goals and then not taking the time to refresh and check in with them. And I know I've been there. That is one of the reasons why every summer I host the mid-year goal refresh challenge. It's a mouthful. I feel like I, at this point, could come up with a better name, but we've been doing the same one for years. It is a free challenge. All you need to do is sign up, email in the description box and sign up so that I will send you an email for 3 days. It happens, if you're watching this video, it is happening this weekend. So hopefully you're watching this video the week it goes live, and you can sign up to get a video and a handout from me with an assignment, a homework assignment. The emails are 10 minutes. It's not a big time commitment, but it is going to help you check in with your goals, where you're at for the year, for 2025, and help you set up and make a game plan for the second half of the year. I know that this time of year, it gets really tough. You are overwhelmed with all of the goals that you had set that may not be going as well as you want them to, and you need to take a second and just debrief and check in with your goals and acknowledge what you want to accomplish in the second half of the year. So hopefully you're watching this video before Friday, June 13th, and you can sign up for my free annual goal refresh. Make sure that you are all good to go for the second half of the year. But in general, set aside time. Put it in your calendar to check in and refresh your goals on a regular basis. It doesn't take as much time, I'm telling myself that, as we think it will, but it is so valuable. And that's it. That is all I've got for you. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you watched all the way to the end, comment below with the little like leaf emoji as like a refresh or like a restart to a goal, like that new life, the little leaf emoji. And if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. How do I want to say that? It's okay if you're actually, let me say that differently. And pick oh, my butt is asleep.